I pulled over outside Roswell and killed the engine because the night was asking me to listen. The road was a ribbon in the kind of silence New Mexico keeps for itself. Sagebrush dark, stars stacked like a promise, and then a white light hung above the asphalt. Silent, low, wrong. My wristwatch stopped at 3:03 a.m. My radio turned into breathing, not static, not a station, just inhale. Exhale like someone practicing. When I looked up through the windshield, a thin face tilted toward me as if listening, and inside my own head, no sound. Not my ears, I heard my name. Hands light, eyes honest, I whispered, because that's what I tell myself when the steering wheel feels like a choice. The light didn't blink. The stars behind it forgot themselves for a moment and then pretended they hadn't. I was 37 that summer, marketing for a chain that sells things you don't need until they're on sale, driving south for a weekend with my mother in Las Cruces. I've always preferred the night shift. Fewer headlights, more radio stories, the relief of desert air in the vents when the day's heat finally lets go. I had coffee in a lidded cup, a charged phone, a plan that said I'd text my sister at 3:01 to say 20 minutes out. I did text her. Later, the same message would appear as a draft, unsent, like the phone had been generous for a minute and then stingy. North of Roswell, the road slips into a quiet that feels curated. Wind becomes a rumor. The sagebrush gives the night a green ghost smell. I saw the glow before I understood the shape. White, not sodium orange or headlamp yellow. It stayed when it should have moved, held when it should have been shy. I eased off the throttle because momentum is wonderful until it auditions for a mistake. I signaled, because that's the kind of person I am even when there's nobody to impress. And I pulled onto the gravel shoulder. When I turned the key off, the car shuddered like it was deciding whether to admit it, then settled. The light above the road did not settle. It hung, neither growing nor shrinking, as if the night had placed a pin in its own map. My wristwatch, old and analog, a gift from a man I don't talk about, ticked 3:03 and then took a break from time. The dashboard clock blinked 03:03 14, 03:03 03:03.15. I said the numbers out loud because numbers get braver when they are spoken. The radio tried to be helpful and failed beautifully. I had left it low on a talk show about water rights. Now it was a metronome of lungs. Breathe in, 2 counts. Breathe out, 3. Again, polite, measured, wrong. I turned the volume down. The breathing stayed where my ears couldn't reach it, somewhere inside, like a neighbor through a wall. The air inside the car cooled 2 quick degrees. The hair on my forearms stood. The smell tilted toward ozone, like penny metal in lightning 2 counties away. Every part of me that has ever been a child began inventory. Keys in ignition, phone in cup holder, bag with zipper on the passenger seat, shoes I could run in, a mother who would not forgive me for dramatics, a sister who would. The light made a small Z across the sky, as if testing whether planes have rules, and stopped directly over the center line. So precise my eyes wanted to check if the paint had magnets. I had the absurd thought that someone was lining up a label on a product and didn't want to disappoint its future. That's marketing for you. Metaphors in the wrong rooms. The face appeared when the light tipped. Not a body, not an outline, not what TV taught me. Thin, tall, like angles pretending to be soft, and the head tilted the way people tilt when they care. I would swear to you the tilt was it listening, maybe to the road, maybe to my pulse, maybe to its own courage. That's when my name arrived where names do not belong, inside my mind without the courtesy of a mouth, a whisper without air. It didn't sound male or female. It sounded like decision. I don't know if bravery is a skill. I know procedures are. I made myself breathe in combos of 4. I put my hands on the steering wheel, the way you put your fingers on the edge of a good table at a bad party. Hands light, eyes honest, I reminded myself. Doorway words I've used in traffic and in rooms where someone is selling you a version of yourself. Do not look right, the inside voice said. It was not a command. It was an etiquette. It made my eyes want to perform disobedience. I kept them front on the paint, like staying between lines could save me. The zipper on my bag slid 2 millimeters with the little metal size zippers make. I hadn't touched it. The slider tilted, then stopped, like the bag had remembered a rumor and decided not to tell it. On the driver's window, where the glass held a skin of desert dew so thin it was more idea than water, a handprint appeared from inside, dry. 5 long fingers, not smudged, not oily, just an area where condensation refused to live. It looked like an argument between physics and manners. I pressed my own palm near it and my breath fogged around both shapes like the car wanted to include me in the scene. In the rear view, the highway was a rope falling behind somebody else's ship. No taillights, no mercy. The light overhead did a small breath, bright to dim to bright, a pulse without heat. The instrument cluster strobed. Fuel needle dipped to 0, temperature to 0, speed to 0, though I was parked. But it was a blink, a picture. And then the gauges remembered the lies they were allowed to tell. The engine made a half sigh like a car that's already off, but wants credit for trying. The white above me performed a courtesy. I do not understand. It moved forward in a line you could draw with a pencil and stopped again, as if making sure my night would include it. I said my name back into the air, just to put it outside where names are supposed to live. No need, the inside said, like a customer service agent who already pulled up your account by your voice. I picked up my phone, because that's when we all pick up our phones. No bars became 2, became none. The GPS app, my little nightly security blanket, redrew the blue line of my route and then jumped it 180 meters south in a perfect straight segment that no road supports. The time between those 2 points was 0. Screens don't sweat, but I swear mine did. Hands light, eyes honest, I said again, because I was making a bead of rosary out of it. The face did another tilt, and I felt a pressure behind my right eye, the faint kind you get before a headache, like someone gently checking if a door is latched. It said my name. I would tell my sister later. And she would say, how? And I would say, without talking. And she would not ask for more because she knows when the asking costs, the radio breathing. Paused for exactly 1 heartbeat and in the tiny vacuum it left, I heard my own name again, but strung with 2. Other sounds I didn't own, like colors turned into syllables. That's the only way I can say it without lying. Do not look right, the inside said. Gentler this time. Like I had passed a test I didn't sit for. I didn't. The light descended an inch, then rose. A motion so controlled it made me angrier than fear should. It was a courtesy that said, we don't make mistakes. We make verbs. I wanted to be more interesting than prey. I wanted to be a person with agency. Instead, I became a recorder. The phone's voice memo had been, recording for 20 minutes because I'm a woman who travels alone and learned. Early that passive documentation is a seatbelt. You can wear in more rooms than one. When I played it back later, this sequence exists. 27 seconds of breathing that is not mine. Slow, measured, and a metallic tap like a nail touched to glass. Followed by a single quiet slide. Zipper saying almost, on the tape there is a small tremor in my own breath I didn't feel at the time. Stress leaves fingerprints you have to meet later when you can't defend yourself. The handprint on the glass did something I have no drawer for. It repelled condensation. When I exhaled onto the pane, the fog beaded around the shape and refused to bind to it. It was not warm. It was dry. The border between fog and clean moved a hair, like evaporation had opinions. Then, a minute later, from the center out, the dry hand dissolved like breath no longer taking interest. I put my hand up near it without touching. Not brave, not dumb, near. The inside voice changed temperature if thoughts have temperature. It felt pleased, not happy, not delight. Approval the way a teacher gives a quiet nod. A lean almost. That's when I understood the tilt wasn't just listening. It was an ask. It wanted attention without panic. It wanted still. I kept still. The light made another Z, and the stars did their stutter behind it, then found their mass. My dashboard wrote EOS 3 unsettling 14 again, defiant, like a child proving he could repeat a trick. The wristwatch stayed dead on 303, like it had negotiated a retirement package. On the phone, the blue route between 2 points was now a seam, 180 meters of blue with no time inside it, as if the app had tied my drive with a knot and then tried to smooth it flat. "Are you going to hurt me?" I asked inside my own head, which is not rational but is honest. "No," the inside said, and then added something that took me a week to translate. Colors I read as stay, look, count. I counted. Not for courage, for memory. 1. The way ozone tastes like pennies you're not supposed to put in your mouth. 2. The drop in cabin temperature that made the vents feel like a ghost exhaled. 3. The zipper that moved like it had been asked. 4. The handprint that held a no to water. 5. The voice that used my name without air. "Hands light, eyes honest," I said again, and it felt like closing a loop I didn't know I'd opened. The light gave me one last tilt, the slow, precise sort of acknowledgement you give a person you hope you'll see again. And it rose. Not fast, not violent, not a vanish. A lift, as if the night had a staircase you can only climb if you already believe in it. As it thinned, the radio let the breathing go and grabbed a station mid-sentence. A preacher making a point about angels I didn't ask for. The dashboard clock stopped being a show-off. The wristwatch stayed loyal to 303 because sometimes objects hold you to the person you were in a moment you didn't vote for. I turned the key, and the engine did an honest start with no theatrics. The light was smaller than elsewhere, than memory. The stars owned their work again. I drove. I kept it slow because adrenaline makes you misjudge speed. I sent my sister a voice note because the text she should have had from 301 existed now as a ghost draft. The voice memo was me being practical, running a hair late, 25 instead of 20. All good. I did not say my name had been said back to me. I did not say don't look right because she would. And I've learned there are ways you can love a person less safe by sharing the wrong detail. If you're here for proof, you came to the wrong bar. I have artifacts. I have the dashboard clock that wrote Orostri, Ostri 14 twice and then behaved. I have the phone log that shows a blue jump of 180 meters with 0 time and a message at 301 sitting in drafts like a note too shy to hand in. I have a voice memo with 27 seconds of breathing that is not me and a metal tap and that little slide or sigh that zippers make when they're feeling witty. I have a wristwatch that needed a watchmaker the next week and a watchmaker who said, "That's a first," and then handed me my mystery in a paper envelope like I might drop it on the way to an answer. I also have me, the part of me that counted, the part that learned a new corner of politeness. When something tilts, it's listening. When the inside says, "Do not look right," it might be saving you from a kind of curiosity that ends with you less here. When gauges flirt with 0 and your car insists it's off while sound tries to tell a better story, trust the feeling that keeps you ordinary. I drove to my mother's. I hugged the woman who taught me how to name colors before I could name letters. I slept a little and woke at 3:03 for a week, like the night wanted to check if we were still on speaking terms. On Mondays, the phone let 7 seconds of silence ring instead of a human. In the garage with the door open, the smell of ozone sat in the cold corners, like it had paid rent. I cleaned the driver's window twice, because sometimes scrubbing a surface is how you ask the world to explain. It didn't. I went back through the voice memo and learned the breathing pattern like a song I would never sing. It wasn't a child. It wasn't a man. It wasn't trying to frighten me. If it meant to rehearse, it rehearsed kindness the way an anatomy lab rehearses tenderness, with the wrong tools and the right intention. People ask if I'll go back to that stretch of road at 303, like I'm supposed to prove I'm brave. I'm brave when it matters. When I say no at work to men who test boundaries, when I stop on the highway for a dog with ideas, when I drive at night and count because memory is the only witness some things get. I don't need a bigger version of my moment. I have the size it came in. If something like this happens to you, and I hope it doesn't, and I hope you're ready if it does, try this. Hands light, because grip can lie. Eyes honest, Because some truths are cheaper if you stare them into a shape you deserve. If a voice inside you offers etiquette, take it. If a face tilts and you feel measured, don't audition for what you think it wants. Be. The air does the heavy lifting. You bring politeness. If you need a single line to tape to your dashboard tonight, make it this. Don't look right. Not forever. Just through the part where curiosity is more expensive than memory. Left a strip of paper in my car's center console with my name, written 3 times because I wanted to see it outside and know that seeing is different than being called. The strip is still there. My name is still mine. That's a victory in a world where ownership is mostly pretend. To the inside that said it back to me, I heard you. I stayed. I counted. That's the most generous form of obedience I know. If any of this reads like the shape of something you've carried, the radio that turned to breath, the clock that copied a second, the dry hand in a wet window, the GPS that tied a knot in your evening, tell me with one word in the comments. Listen, no coordinates, no names, no map making in a place that already gave too much. Hands light, eyes honest, I tell myself when I pass that exit now. Sometimes the night tilts, sometimes I answer. I ask my mother, a month later, if she believes me. She poured coffee the way she always does, careful, slow, making room for heat, and said, I believe you keep good notes. If that sounds like faint praise, you didn't grow up in my house. Notes are how we own what doesn't fit in drawers. She tucked the stopped watch into a teacup on her hutch like it was a guest that needed caring for. She doesn't wear it. She chooses not to wind it. It knows what time it is, she said. That's a sentence that either saves you or doesn't. It saved me. The desert keeps its own watch. At 3:03 now and then I wake and lie still and let my breath report in, out. A shape of listening I can afford. I didn't look right when I wasn't supposed to. I did after. There was only road there. Sometimes obedience is just letting time choose where it stacks the stars. I'm still driving at night. I still like the quiet. I keep an extra battery for the phone and a new bag with a different zipper that chooses not to audition. The car is the same. The window is clean. The world is competent. I am learning to call the part of me that counted by a better name, steady. When the dark pauses and makes room for your name, consider answering with nothing more than breath. If it leans, it's listening. Don't look right, not yet.